Hi, this is Chris Bentson, and it's time for another Resource Minute. Today's topic, transitions available to orthodontic buyers and sellers. The way we're going to look at that is by practice size. And so there's a lot of practices out there that collect plus or minus $1 million a year. Almost always, whether you're going to buy this practice or sell this practice, this is a doctor-to-doctor transaction, not a corporate transaction, just due to the size. Once you get to about $2 million, you have a few options. You can do a doctor-to-doctor sale of the entire practice, and about 20% of $2 million and up practices will consider a partnership. It's a little bit on the smaller size for a full partnership where both doctors are working 4 days a week, but if you're a senior doctor and willing to trade time for money, this is often how these pan out. And about 20% of $2 million and up practices will at least consider looking at selling to corporate just because you want to see what you can get for your practice, and they're interested in that size practice. If you're a $3 million practice or larger, few of these practices are 100% doctor-to-doctor sales because the buyers have trouble coming up with the full purchase price amount. And so most of these are partnerships, about 50%, where you're buying a partner that exists out of this practice. And about 50% of $3 million plus practices will at least consider looking at corporate to see what they could get for their practice and then work back for the corporation for a period of years. All these strategies are good for either buyers or sellers. So what's your practice going to trade at? If you look at rules of thumb for valuations, generally speaking, practices will transact one doctor to another at about 80% of the trailing 12 months of collections. So if you're collecting $1 million, that's $800,000 and so forth. However, using that average as your benchmark can be very dangerous because the range of values is 45% to 100%, which is why we recommend, obviously, that you do an independent valuation to see where you fall in that range. If you look at how does that relate to profit, it's usually 1.85 times 1 year's profit or net income. But again, that range is from 140% to 200%. So we're just looking at averages here, and that's the middle of the road. If you're going to go to corporate, there's a whole new term that you have to learn, but it's 5 to 7 times EBITDA, earnings before income, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. And we can explain more about that over a phone call if you're interested. This is kind of what's out there in the market and how these practices transact, whether you're a buyer or a seller. That's the Resource Minute we thought you'd like to know.